Welcome to the Confident Motherhood Podcast. I'm your host, Anne, mama of two, holistic pregnancy and pediatric sleep consultant, and the founder of Empowered Decisions. In our seasons together, I'm here to help you step into your inner confidence from pregnancy to motherhood. Whether you are preparing to meet your baby or integrating into new mom life, this is a safe space with education and support for your journey. Join me as we raise the vibe of our motherhood collective. Welcome back to the Confident Motherhood Podcast. I am Anne, and today we are talking about the 4-month sleep regression with the important tagline, mamas, it's not just a phase. It is not just a regression, and we are going to talk about all of that. Also, ironic timing, because I do free initial sleep explore calls with families. And I just hopped off a call with a mom with a 5-month-old who was like, my baby's sleep has not improved since the 4-month sleep regression. So I was literally just talking about all things 4-month sleep regression. And I had planned to hop off that call and start to come record. So divine timing today, but we need to dive into this topic because it is wildly misunderstood to no fault of our own. So we're going to kind of talk about where are we with this? Why is it so misunderstood? What's the truth? What's actually happening in the 4-month sleep regression? I want to talk through how I help families, some expectations for improving sleep. We're just going to talk about all things. So let's dive into kind of this bad advice. And again, to no fault of our own. But we hear this when you have a young baby and somebody's like, oh, you just wait till the 4-month sleep regression. And this word regression is thrown around so much, but it is never given with any sort of sleep advice or information or actually even really understanding what's happening. But I think the most tough part as a sleep coach, understanding all the pieces, is just wanting to scream from the rooftops, it's not just a phase, and really help families to understand what's actually going on. So here's one of the big problems, if we want to look at it as a problem. Babies don't stop growing, okay? So if we use the logic of the 4-month sleep regression or literally pick any other regression, then basically if we understand in 4 months, sleep is going to be hard, sleep is going to be a struggle, your baby's regressing, and I then use that logic to apply to all of the growth and development that they have upcoming, then we're essentially setting an expectation that sleep is going to be hard or bad or go backwards about every 1 to 2 months. And here's the timestamps around this: 4 months, 6-7 months, 8 to 12 months, 12-13 months, 15 to 16 months, 18-19 months, 24 months. Are you kidding me? I'm not signing up for that show. I'm not signing up for the show that basically says every 1 to 2 months. I'm going to expect and accept that sleep is going to be hard because that flow is maddening. We're not doing that. Mamas, right now, today, you're tuning in, we're not doing that. So here is also an example. When I'm working with families and they will say, okay, well, we're going to be sleep coaching. Well, what happens when my baby goes through regression? What happens when they turn 4 months? Because I actually have a 3.5-month-old on program right now. What happens when the next sleep struggles come about? I actually guarantee with families when they're working with me that babies aren't going to go through regressions, especially not in the way that we are being taught that babies will go through regressions. So many babies, especially young babies, they don't have a solid sleep foundation yet. They're generally carrying around some overtiredness. They're needing help to sleep. Are they eating efficiently or not eating efficiently? There's so many different pieces and layers that are going on, but usually there's not a solid sleep foundation yet because coming out of the newborn phase where we're doing all the things, newborn babies need co-regulation for sleep, holding, feeding, rocking, bouncing, pacifying, contact naps. And all of these things are very normal and needed. But when babies come out of the newborn phase where we can start to have different expectations for sleep and we can start improving sleep, babies are capable developmentally of learning to sleep independently. And then they start getting slammed with development. That's where sleep can go from good to bad, bad to worse, worse to disaster. And parents are like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What is happening? Maybe your newborn was sleeping, let's say, every few hours or, maybe even getting some longer stretches. And then you're coming upon 4 months and now babies are waking up every 45 an hour, every couple hours, and it feels regressive. It feels like things are going backwards. And that's a really frustrating part about going through any sort sort of developmental peak when you don't understand what's actually happening, because it can definitely feel like you are in this phase of sleep struggle. But when I share with families that once we lay a solid sleep foundation, once a little one has skills, once we've kind of gone through that process, yes, sleep and development are crucially connected, and we can expect to see some disruption or some change in some habits for a short pocket of time, and then sleep will resume like as per normal, back in a solid place. Babies aren't regressing. They're not just going to wake up and be like, oh, I don't know how to sleep today because I'm 4 months or because I'm 6 months or 10 months, whatever the case may be, because they have those solid skills and that sleep foundation. But I want to kind of start with what is happening during this 4 month, I'm putting air quotes around it, this 4 month sleep regression, so that developmentally we understand what babies are going through, because it is a lot. So first, let's start with around month 4. So we have newborn from 0 to 12 weeks. And then we have month 3, which is kind of still blurring a bit with the newborn phase and also kind of heading into month 4. So month 3 can be a unique month. But essentially, when babies are approaching 4 months, they have now just completed the 4th trimester, right? Those first 3 months outside of the womb. So as we approach 4 months, one of the big things that is happening is circadian rhythm is starting to develop. And this is where babies, young babies, are going from newborn sleep, and newborn sleep is very unique, but newborn sleep and newborn sleep cycles into more adult sleep cycles where they are cycling between light and deeper stages of sleep. And this is where I was like, oh, my newborn, let's say, was waking up every few hours or maybe even longer stretches, like I mentioned. And now it's like every 45 minutes, an hour, it's 2 hours. And you're like, whoa, like this is major sleep disruption that we were not experiencing before. This can also come along with what once worked to help your baby fall asleep is no longer working. Examples of this. Maybe you were holding or rocking, your young baby to sleep, and that was working. You would do the rocking for however long and they fall asleep, but you put them down. Or now they're kind of upon this big growing time, and now it's taking longer and longer to rock them, or it's more frustrating, or sometimes it's successful, it's not successful. It's a bit more of a gamble on like what is going to quote unquote work to help put them to sleep. And this is another big part of you now have a new baby. That's kind of like one of the best ways to look at it is they don't stop growing, and 0 to 6 months is very much rapid growth and development. So we kind of get into these seasons. Okay, like this is how my baby works. This is what we're doing. This is, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, and this is how this works. And we kind of get attached to that. Meanwhile, our babies are constantly changing. So then we keep doing whatever the things are, and then we realize like, oh, this isn't working for them anymore. And then we have to change again. And if we keep that kind of understanding of sleep and schedule and everything, it can leave us in a really frustrating cycle of always chasing our tail, like always trying to figuring out our baby when it doesn't have to be that way. So along the lines of the what once worked and your baby constantly changing, it is very normal for as babies grow and change that their sleep associations will change. And this is kind of going back to that example of rocking. Another example of this that I see a lot is with pacifiers. Pacifiers are kind of like, I don't know, little bombs, little sleep prop bombs. They can work until they don't. And this can be, they literally worked for 2 years and, your child responded and loved it and they went to sleep and everything was great. Or maybe they used it pretty solidly for the first 4 months and now they're going through 4-month development and you're now putting in the pacifier, multiple times for a nap or, on and off throughout the entire course of the night where you're like this kind of ever constantly trying to help them. But even though you're helping them, it's not really working. That can be something else that we see during this 4-month development where we can start to see struggle around sleep. I always sing the song. I cannot sing, but I'm going to do it right now. The movie Aladdin, the song, I don't know if it's the main song or one of the songs. She's like, a whole new world, right? That song. This is how I always think about 4-month-olds because it is a whole new world for them. Like, it's almost like they were in a way kind of sleeping and they've just been awakened. They are so much more alert and engaged. They're engaging with you. You might see smiles and coos and some laughs and they're tracking you as you walk across the room. And we see some like hand-eye coordination. They're grabbing things with their hands. So we're seeing also like fine and gross motor skills development. Gross motor being commonly, this is a time where we will start to see them with early rolling development, whether that's like they're on tummy time and they rolled onto their back. Like there's so much that's happening, but it's really a whole new world for them. So we look at circadian rhythm and the changing of the sleep cycles, we can start to see changes with their associations and kind of the help that they're looking for in falling asleep. They're much more engaged and they are really taken in their environment. We have fine and gross motor skills developing, even vocal skills, like I mentioned, like laughing and cooing, which by the way is incredibly heart melting. And I also say poor things, they are just getting slammed with development. So before I talk through how I start assessing this age group and what that looks like and kind of peeling back for you, understanding, okay, here are the areas in where we want to start making changes to improve sleep. I also want to kind of pause for a second and just talk about this idea that it's not a phase and understanding that really on a deeper level, because when we attach to that idea, like, oh, my baby's just going through the 4-month sleep regression, like the mom who I was just speaking with just asked me this question, like, how do I know that it's not just a phase for her? How do I know that it's not just going to get better naturally? And look, that question is really tricky, and it wouldn't be fair if I gave a really hard and fast answer to this. But this is what I will say. There are babies that, maybe they go through a little, rough patch in month 4, and maybe sleep was pretty good in the newborn phase, and they just kind of go on where it's not majorly disruptive for them. That's fine, and that totally can happen, and it does happen. When you, like in this specific example of chatting with this mom, she now has a 5-month-old and has still felt like, when does this 4-month sleep regression end? For some and many babies, that's where I say it's not just a phase. We can't just put that blanket statement on it, because oftentimes it is this period of revealing to us that there are underlying struggles that a child is experiencing. Now, not all babies need sleep coaching, but what I will say is between 4 and 6 months, it is an excellent time to assess their sleep, holistically assess. So we're looking at all the factors that affect their sleep so that things don't go missed, so that you're not just indefinitely waiting days, weeks, months, like, okay, well, when does it get better? Because like I mentioned in the beginning, every 1 to 2 months, it's now something new. It's now more skills. It's now more development. Now it's teeth and like all of these other things that just continue to happen. So really understanding it early and assessing it early. One, there's just so much lack of sleep that happens when we don't understand that, but it can really save you with your sanity and your frustration and all of these things of just this waiting period of kind of suffering in silence is a way that I like to digest that piece of information of like, when you're just waiting, you're hoping that there's light at the end of the tunnel, but you don't really know, like you could sacrifice days, weeks, months, years, just waiting for sleep to get better. So I do think when we're having this conversation around young babies, it's really important to just like, whether you're going to be sleep coaching or not, doesn't matter. It's a really good time to assess your child's sleep and identify, are there areas in all these different pieces of how sleep comes together that I could improve, that I could make changes in to help them recover from these like peaks of development. So now let's dive into kind of how sleep works so that you can start to understand how this development can be a bit, when they get slammed with it, how it can make for some challenges. And like I mentioned, I holistically sleep coach with families. So it's impossible for me to come on board and not look at all of these layers because sleep is not one size fits all and it is not one layer. So there's 4 main categories, 4 main factors, if you will, that affect your child's sleep. One's going to be their schedule. And what we want with a schedule, we don't want to think of schedules like, oh, it's strict and it's structured and it's timing. No, we just want to make sure that their schedule is age aligned. We want to make sure that your child has an age appropriate schedule. Now, there are general awake window guides you'll find online and social media. I have a free guide, 3 Steps to Stress-Free Sleep, where I break down awake windows by age and tips and guidance to come along with it. Because we can slap, like this mom that I was just talking with, she has a 5-month-old, so I'm giving her guidance on month 5. But when children are having sleep struggles or they're carrying around over tiredness, babies don't always perfectly fit into their age-appropriate schedule. So not only knowing what awake windows are, but knowing how to use them and adjust for your baby is really important and can be a major unlock for sleep improvement. So schedule is going to be one. The next is going to be their nutrition. Now, sleep and nutrition are crucially connected. And while babies are commonly eating and growing and they're on their curve and we're going to wellness visits and whatnot, it does not mean that they're always eating efficiently and that there is this healthy sleep and nutrition connection. And that's something that I am always helping families with, because babies that have sleep struggles also commonly are not always eating efficiently. So it's like a part of what we're doing when we're coaching to make sure that babies are coming out of holistic sleep coaching, waking up nice and hungry and meeting all of their needs. And there's that really good appetite behind it, but nutrition is happening in an efficient way that is also going to be sleep supportive. So third on the list is going to be their sleep environment. And really what we want here is we want to make sure that it's sleep conducive. And there's different parts, whether we're talking about light or temperature or the physical sleep space that they're in, all of these different things we usually can make improvements in. Fun fact, and I've been doing this for 7 years and I've worked with over 600 families at this point. It's almost never, I'm going to say, almost every single room assessment that I've done over the years, it's not nearly dark enough. And usually I'll look at an assessment and be like, yeah, my room's pretty dark. And then I'll either get in there or I'll see it in photos or video. And I'm like, yeah, not even close enough to really be sleep supportive and to make sure that those rooms are set up to really help babies with sleep. We kind of don't think about enough how environmental factors can also just be a little thorn in their side, things that are just not really setting them up for success. So sleep environment is definitely something that we want to take a look at. And then there's sleep associations. And look, this word association usually comes around with a negative thing of oh, my baby has associations. No. Young babies need help to sleep, and then some of them really hold on to those things and they just continue looking for help to sleep because we've always helped them to sleep. It's not a bad habit. It's not a problem that we've created. There's no fault of our own. It is normal for young babies to look for help to sleep. Then you can get out of the newborn phase and it's a desire. I just asked this mom right now, I said, do you desire for her to sleep independently? And she was like, I'm not really sure yet. I'm like, that's okay. There's definitely parents. I was in that space. I nursed my boys for a very long time. They both had feed sleep associations, they had to be on breast to fall asleep. But I had the desire that I wanted them to learn to sleep independently. I wanted to be able to walk in their room, in their crib, and place them down and trust that they could fall asleep and stay asleep. I wanted that. Not everybody wants that. You may love the contact naps, and again, did that early on, but it had an expiration date for me. But you may love holding, rocking, feeding, bouncing your baby to sleep. And if sleep works for you, there's no problem in that, even if you're in the season of seeing some 4-month sleep disruption. So it's just, for me, when I talk about sleep associations, it's just a jump off. It's just a starting place of okay, what are their things? What is the help that they're looking for right now to fall asleep, so that I know where we're starting from as we're then shifting into independent sleep. And when I'm working with families, I would say almost always, we are making changes in all 4 of these areas. It's very rare sometimes, but it's very rare that we're just making changes in 1 or 2 of the areas. It's usually all 4. So I think about this as your child's sleep puzzle. So when we're talking about, hey, 4 to 6 months is a really great time to start assessing sleep, especially if you were oh, I think I'm in the 4-month sleep regression, or is this the 4-month sleep regression? We need to look at the puzzle. Also, another fun fact, in mentioning that I have a 3.5-month-old on program right now, it is not just always that when babies turn 4 months, on their 4-month birthday, that is when sleep disruption and sleep, what feels like regressive, habits and sleep changes start to happen. It is very common for babies to start to experience some 4-month sleep disruption in month 3. And there's changes and there's a variety of things that are happening there, but I see this all the time. For example, the family that I'm working with right now with the 3.5-month-old, very clearly what this baby has been experiencing is 4 months. It's the development that's starting to happen that then is again magnifying, revealing, and creating these sorts of sleep struggles. So along this theme today of it's not a phase, newborn sleep is not indicative for the positive or the negative, what sleep can look like long term. But once we are in 4-month development and beyond, this is where we're assessing and trying to find, right? We're digging and assessing to be where do the struggles lie right now? Now, I also say it's not a regression because this implies that sleep is going backwards purely because your baby is 4 months. And we'll continue to use 4 months as the topic because obviously that's what we're talking about today. But here's kind kind of like an analogy of what's going on here. So I had mentioned that when your child has a solid sleep foundation, they're on the age appropriate schedule, they're eating efficiently, they've got their skills, they're well rested now, and then they come upon development. Yep, we can see some disruption for short pockets of time and sleep goes back to normal. When babies don't have the foundation, it's not just like, oh, I woke up and I'm 4 months today and I just unlearned everything that I learned. And because I'm 4 months, I don't know how to sleep. It's just that there was cracks in the foundation, and then now it like magnifies those sleep struggles. But sometimes families are like, I don't understand like when they have this foundation, why that prevents them from regressing. I said, okay, it's like this. Let's say that I taught you the ABCs and you learn the ABCs. Yay, awesome. And then you turn 30. You're like, you know what? I woke up, I'm 30. It's a big developmental time. And I just don't know how to, know the ABCs anymore because I turned 30. That's kind of like the logic that we're applying to babies when it comes to sleep. Because you woke up one day and you're 30, that you just unlearned the ABCs. That's not how it works. But if I slowly started to reintroduce like the alphabet backwards, and I kind of told you it daily, like, oh, this is how the ABCs goes, but backwards, you might kind of regress. You might like, oh, actually, do I know the ABCs? And you might unlearn that. So I say this, and I usually put a disclaimer around it that it sounds rude. Babies don't just regress. Generally, parents regress. So here's an example of this. Like, let's say a baby learns to sleep independently and they have this foundation, and then we slowly start reintroducing a pacifier. We slowly start reintroducing nursing or holding or rocking or any of these things. Sure, your baby can regress. They can slowly start to unlearn the skills that they developed, and then they can regress and go backwards, and now they're looking for help. So I don't say like parents regress like in a negative or like blame sort of way, but that would be what we would have to do in order to really cause a regression, is we would have to reintroduce sleep associations in order for them to regress. It's not just because they turn 6 months or 8 months or 12 months. That's not really fair for them. So I want to share some personal examples. But one thought that just came to mind is if you ever hear somebody say like, oh, it's just the 4 month sleep regression, or, oh, you just wait until the 4 month sleep regression, run, just run. But now since you're tuning in and you have more information about what's going on and that you can improve sleep and that there's support for you and it's not just a phase and it's really about understanding your baby and all the development that they're going through, that we don't just want to slap this label on this time, because there's so many cool, beautiful things that your baby's experiencing. Unfortunately, this age group can just get overshadowed. Like the parental experience can kind of overshadow like what they're going through because it can be so hard. Like, waking up every, let's say 45 hour, 2 hours at nighttime is exhausting. Your baby's exhausting. It's frustrated. They're frustrated. Like all of these pieces can just kind of overshadow. But if anybody ever says it's just, or just wait, please run. So another question, it's so ironic to me that this call just became like a part of this episode today, but we're going to roll with it. The mom asked like, how do I know that she's like ready for this coaching? Like, should I wait? Like, is she too young? And it's such a great question. I love when I get that question during coaching or like, initial calls for coaching, is because if you're talking about your more traditional methods, like Ferber cried out, yes, I would say, nope, she's not developmentally ready. You should wait until she's older, like 6 months and above. I holistically coach with families. So it's actually really common that coaching with like 4-month-olds is very normal, mostly because this is when the start of sleep disruption and pain start to happen. So families are seeking out education, information, and support. But 3, 4, 5 months old, you get it. Young babies are 100% capable of developing sleep skills and being helped to learn to sleep on their own. And they're also, I'm going to put like a little flashing lights around this next line, is they are capable of learning to sleep through the night. There's a lot of that online of like young babies aren't meant to be sleeping through the night. I help babies learn to sleep through the night all the time. The difference is we are not expecting them never to wake. That is a common misconception when we're talking about 4-month sleep regression and can I get my baby sleeping? I work with families all the time where we see babies fully sleeping through the night. We want them developing to do that. I still keep in the opportunity for night nutrition when coaching with young babies, but even we wake up at nighttime. So what we want with the skill piece and the foundation is that your baby is able to wake up and put themselves back to sleep. And if they wake up and they need to feed, then we give them a feed. But in this age group specifically, are they capable of sleeping through the night? Absolutely they are. And another question I usually get is, my baby's going through the 4-month sleep regression. Is this going to prevent them from learning to sleep? Should we wait until the 4-month sleep regression kind of passes? And I always say no to this. The first reason, as I'm sure you grasp by now, they don't stop growing. So there's no real pocket of time where they're not growing. Is there peaks and then valleys? Yes, sure. But babies absolutely can still learn to sleep and will get better rest through like developmental peaks when they have a solid sleep foundation. So purely just going through the development is actually not going to prevent them from learning their skills and laying a solid sleep foundation. Now, going back to why I'm a sleep coach in the first place, because sleep with my first son was so bad. I don't even think it could have been any worse in the newborn phase. Like, I say that meaning like, oh, I wasn't really worried about the 4-month sleep regression because I was like, I don't even think sleep could get any worse. Like, I felt I was 4 months of a sleep regression, and then I was just heading into like a new developmental time with him. But he was my first baby client, but I coached him right as he turned 4 months, like I do with many families now. And it was night and day improvement. He was actually so much happier, and boy, did I see the changes in him. And I did it probably very much in a peak of development, but he was severely overtired. He didn't have a great schedule. Even though he was a healthy baby boy at a great weight, he was not eating efficiently. I was a human pacifier. He was snacking on me, like all the normal things with young babies, but him actually getting proper rest for his age and me starting to learn all of those pieces of his sleep puzzle, major changes. He was learning to sleep through the night, like he was properly taking his naps now. He was well rested. And most of the time we think like, oh, it's, I was being told a lot, even by, pediatricians, oh, it's just the 4-month sleep regression. Like, oh, he's a young baby. This is normal. And I was left there like, this is normal. I knew that I was signing up for not being so restful sleep in the newborn phase, but this cannot be normal. And I am so thankful that I was given sleep education and information, and I connected with the sleep coach back then to kind of like set some expectations and educate me on like, hey, here's kind of how sleep works. And we're going to start to make some changes in these different areas to improve your 4-month-old sleep, which is capable. And it's just like parents just need more information and support so that you can make decisions that feel good for you. Because going through a 4-month sleep regression is not a parental rite of passage. Like, it's not. You don't have to go through it if you don't want to. It absolutely can be a tough season, but it's actually so much harder without sleep education and support, like I mentioned, and these areas of focus and just simply understanding what's going on. We went through the list today of, hey, here's what your baby is experiencing developmentally amongst this time. It's not just this age group where they don't sleep well. It's understanding the developmental pieces and understanding how you can improve it. Because since they don't stop growing, where we can improve sleep for them in these different areas actually helps them to cope with and navigate their growth and development with so much more ease. You don't have to wait for the next sleep bomb to drop and for sleep to be terrible. This idea that every 1 to 2 months major things are happening, that is true. And that basically, 24 months is kind of the last stamped regression time, but there's so much growth and development that is happening 0 to age 3. We don't have to sign up for that because every time they're getting a tooth or going through a quote unquote regression, that sleep is expected to be bad. We actually can just help them in these different areas, help them to lay a solid sleep foundation, and then help them to have much smoother and more restful sleep through this growth and development. So if today's episode resonated with you, and number one for me is I hope that it just provided more clarity and reassurance and information and education for any mamas and parents that are tuning in. But if there's any part of you that's like, you know what, I think I might want to do an assessment of my child's sleep, or I think I might want to explore holistic sleep coaching. One, for exploring coaching, you can head to my website and book a free call, just like I just did with this mama, about 15 to 20 minutes. We kind of do an initial, dive into what's going on, your struggles, your questions, and then talk about next steps. Or if you're in the space of, kind of we're thinking about this 4 to 6 month age group of you're like, what the heck is going on? Like, sleep is a struggle. I'm not really sure why. Like, this is frustrating. Is it going to get better? I also have a sleep insight audit, which I just recommended to this mom because she's a little unsure still. If she wants her baby to sleep independently, she's not sure if she wants to do coaching. Right now, she's like, Anne, I just need sleep to improve. Like, I'm not sure if I want to do coaching, but I need sleep to be better. Like, this is not sustainable for her or for me. Like, she's not getting all the sleep that she needs. So I recommended to her that she book a sleep insight audit. And this is where I have you fill out a questionnaire, a detailed questionnaire. I do a holistic assessment. I record it and I deliver it back to you within 1 to 3 days, which is providing you clarity and answers and insight and some recommendations, kind of like take what resonates, leave what doesn't, so that you do have some support to like, okay, I'm going to make these changes and then like see where sleep goes. And then also grab my free guide. I have a 3 steps to stress-free sleep guide that's found in my freebie vault, where I help you with awake windows and understanding things like sleep pressure and association identification. So that's a great one to grab too. But I am very passionate about regressions and 4 months and baby development and helping parents. So I hope that this episode was helpful. Definitely connect with me on socials and, send me a message. You got questions or just kind of like some follow-up. I would love to hear and connect with you. And until the next episode, lots of love. Whether you're a tired mom struggling with your little one's sleep or an expecting mom looking for empowerment and advocacy as you prepare for birth, I'm here to show up for you with proven strategies and education to elevate your journey. You deserve to feel heard and given the tools to have success. Mama, you do not have to navigate your pregnancy or sleep struggles alone. Head over to empoweredwithann.com to discover how we can support you. Confidence, empowerment, and peace are just a click away.